soon as you get the prompt, we can get going.
3, 2, 1, test. There you go. I got a prompt. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
All right, yep. That's wonderful. Welcome to a little bit of a training on preventing falls here at Nonotuck. Let me show you what we're going to try to do today. The first thing we're going to do is take a look at just a brief picture at some data and sort of talk a little bit about why we're doing this, what the numbers have looked like over the past years for us. We're going to talk about 5 steps of fall prevention, which is really sort of an assessment and treatment planning process. And we're going to take a couple brief looks at some tools that Survey has put together, which I really like, and I think they can be very helpful in putting together plans for people. And then some simple tips to prevent falls. And then we want to talk a little bit about what we can do as in our roles to help, and a quick glance at some systems changes that we're going to try to make so that we can actually count accurately the number of falls that we're getting and make sure that we have good plans in place for people who need them. Once again, if you have any questions, comments, type them into the chat. Hold on, somebody's coming in here. There we go. And away we go. Maybe. All right, let's take a look at some data. Several years ago, when we were going through our first CARF, we put together a performance improvement plan to take a look at rehospitalizations and hospitalizations at Nonotuck, and started gathering some data. And we started noticing that there were several types of incidents that were popping up in our DDS ABI MFP services. Falls was sort of the fourth issue that was related to rehospitalizations. Thought that was interesting. And then we started taking a look at this. This should say hospitalization. Then we started taking a look at AFC data, and the highest repeated issue regarding hospitalizations for people with our AFC services had something to do with falls. Now, falls didn't necessarily cause the hospitalization, but there was a hospitalization, and within that hospitalization process, somebody fell. Sometimes the falls cause the hospitalization. Sometimes maybe they have a seizure and fall, those types of things, but falls were involved. So as we've continued to look, we meet every Monday to take a look at incident reports. We have an incident report team, and we go through them. And there's rarely a week that we haven't found that somebody was involved with a fall. In fact, we met on Monday, and there was 2 falls in the past 2 weeks. So we decided we should take a look at falls and what we can do to prevent them. So here's sort of a basic steps to assessing and coming up with plans to avoid falls, the risks. And the first step, of course, is to identify the risks. There are many potential hazards present everywhere. And to help us with that, let me pull this in. Survey put this together for us. This is a bit of a write-up for older members and risk for falls in general. And it has some really cool things in it. One of them is just statistics, that whoever the behavioral risk factor surveillance system is, found that in people over 65, or 27.5% of people over 65 years old report at least one fall in the past year. And we have lots of people over 65. And basically, you have all these risk factors. And then we have some causes based on the risk factors that can lead to a fall. So we want to be able to assess for these things and then come up with plans to mitigate the causes. So what we have here is a really cool sort of flow chart. This is going to be available to everybody too, so you don't have to worry too much about it. But it talks about screening. If you get positive answers to the screening, what to do. If you don't get positive, don't get yes answers, you follow the no's, and it just goes right down to the end. So I think this is really, really valuable. I'll pull this back out of the way and show you the other one, which I love too. And this is just making sort of a fall prevention protocol with a standardized functional assessment. So we want to assess for diagnoses, medications, history of falls. We want to complete some tests with the person and review any supportive or adaptive devices. And as you can see, all of these things are mitigating factors to help prevent people from falling. And then in here, there's a whole, these are all hyperlinked, but there's a whole list of tests that we can do with people to make sure that they are properly assessed.
We have a couple questions in the chat on where to locate these documents. They have been added into the winter 2023 orientation folder. I'll put a hyperlink in the chat for that as well, but that's where they are currently existing.
And I believe this these slides are in there too as well.
That is correct.
Very cool. Thank you. So the next step, of course, is to figure out ways to avoid the risk that we've identified, figure out ways to control the risk. If it can't be avoided, we can do other things. We want to make sure that we promptly respond to incidents when they occur, to make sure as best we can to reduce the risk of them occurring again, and then monitor to make sure we're maintaining risk prevention. Pretty simple. So here's some simple things that we can do to prevent falls. The first one is to make sure that the person's had an appointment with their healthcare provider. We want the healthcare provider, with our assistance if we can, take a look at medications. Some medications have side effects that increase the risk of falls. We want to know any previous falls and when they fell or almost fell and how they fell. And then there's certain eye conditions, eye, ear conditions that can increase the risk for falls. Dizziness, gait challenges, numbness, all of that can contribute to falls as well. So you want to make sure we know what those risks are with the healthcare provider. Next thing that we can do is talk to people about keeping moving. That physical activity can help prevent falls by improving strength and balance, coordination, and flexibility. So we want people to consider moving, walking, water workouts, Tai Chi, whatever it is that they can do to help strengthen and improve their balance. For some people, it may be chair exercises, whatever it is. Can we keep people moving? And talk to the healthcare provider again, and consider physical therapist maybe, or custom exercise program. Those types of things can really help people with their coordination. Next thing we want to do is make sure people are wearing sensible shoes. This is a huge one. People should wear properly fitted, sturdy, flat shoes with non-stick soles. One of the falls we had in the last 2 weeks, somebody was in their stocking feet. And we want to avoid high heels, floppy silkwear, shoes with slick soles, and walking around in stocking feet. And here's one that we can really work with when we're on home visits, is to work with people to remove clutter, household hazards. We want to make sure that there's nothing in the walkways that people can trip over. We want to work with people to move tables, racks, plant stands from high traffic areas so that folks don't trip over them. Take a look. Let's secure and remove loose rugs. I mean, we can't, but we can talk to providers and caregivers about it. Repair or replace broken floors or frayed carpeting. Clean spilled liquids and grease immediately. The other fall we had in the last 2 weeks, somebody slipped on water. We want to work with providers to make sure that they're paying attention and cleaning that stuff up very quickly. And then, of course, there's other sort of equipment stuff, right? We can have non-slip mats and bathtubs and showers. We can have bath seats for people in the tub. And the other one that comes up a lot are broken or cracked walkways outside. You know, people who go out in the spring and the summer, they want to take a look in the garden, they want to pick vegetables, and they trip on stairs, trip over rocks in the garden, those types of things. The next thing we want to really consider is light in the house. Does the person have night lights in their bedrooms, bathrooms, and hallways? So if they get up at night, they can see. Do they have a lamp within reach of the bed, so they don't have to get up and walk across the bedroom to turn on a light? In our clear paths available to light switches, do they have to sort of crawl around things, climb over a couch to reach over to get to a light switch? And excuse me. And we can illuminated light switches can be great too, so people can see where they're heading to turn it on. We want to make sure that we're working with people to use lights when going up or downstairs. And another great one is to store flashlights in easy to find places. There's a power outage, whatever it is, it's great to have a flashlight sitting right there. And then again, more assistive devices. People with fall risk, do they have handrails on both sides of the stairways? We can have people ask people to install non-slip treads on bare wood floors and steps. Help people obtain a raised toilet seat or a toilet seat with armrests to make it easier getting up and down. Can install grab bars and showers, shower seats, handheld shower nozzles, and make sure that walkers and canes are available. This is something we can take a look at as we're walking into houses. Is the person sitting in the recliner and their walker is sitting across the floor? Is their cane with them? And we can have professionals assess the living space. Can we arrange to have an occupational therapist come in and really do some detailed work with the person? Then there's some things that we can do. I've already talked about a lot of these, but we certainly want to identify people with fall risk or previous falls. We want to go in and assess living areas for everybody. And it's something we should sort of focus on every time we go into somebody's home. Take a quick walk around and sort of keep falls in the back of our head. Can this environment be safer? And then help with the provider in changing the living environment. Come up with a list of suggestions. Again, reassess the environment regularly, at least every time we go in. And then work to create plans to mitigate the risk. We can have fall risk protocols in DDS programs. Plans to mitigate fall risks should be in all of our plans of care when it's applicable. And we should be working with people and families to follow those plans, right? Identify, why does Tom always get up out of his chair without asking for assistance? What's he looking for? Those types of things. And then just some basic internal systems that we're going to request that people follow. First of all, if somebody has a fall, we would like you to notify your director. Okay. We also would like people to complete an incident report. And it's okay to keep it internal if it doesn't meet external filing requirements, but would like people to submit an incident report so that we can track these numbers. And the final thing is notify Servy Bortman. It's Bortman@nonotuck.com. And she's going to be working with nurses and teams to try to prevent future falls when they occur. Thank you. Any questions, comments? Oh, Shirley. Hi, Shirley.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great. How
So-
are you?
Good. So
Good.
one thing that I do with my clients who can do this is if they've had incidences where they're dizzy, things like that, I ask them simply to count slowly 1 to 10 before they sit up or change position. Just
Great
so they're
idea.
not just jumping up real
Yes.
quick. Yeah, so I ask them to do that just as a starting point.
That makes
to
sense.
see- Yeah, just to see if that helps
Yep.
to some degree.
And that can go right into the plan of care, right?
Right.
That's great. Someone wrote, is there a specific form to file an incident report internally? Just use the external forms that you would normally use. For DDS, I think most falls would go into HCSIS anyway, Rob? Is that?
Yes. Typically, one of those things is if there is some type of fall that might warrant like an emergency room visit, contacting the PCP, those types of things, they would kind of fall within that category. But there is another code that you can use. Just give me a moment. I will find it exactly what we can use.
Okay, and maybe we can, because you have so little else to do, maybe a flow chart or something we could send out. Would that work?
I'll see if I can.
Shows people how to do it. And Catherine wrote, do you still want an incident report completed if the fall happened weeks prior? Sometimes we find out there was a fall at monthly home visit and the caregiver did not inform us at time. Yes, please. Kitty.
Good
Hi.
morning. Hi, good morning. Just to let everybody know too, that we are discussing other options for reporting and maybe through AFC Home or something a little different than filling out the entire incident report especially for AFC, if it's not a requirement, it's not a critical incident. But I just want to let you know that we're talking about other options too for reporting. But this is this does cross-section across all service deliveries, and we don't all use the same reporting mechanism. So we might come up with a uniform system in the future, but this was great. Thanks, Doug.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. And then Priscilla asked, is it in the orientation training materials or client files? Oh, is the orientation training materials in client files or the common folder? So it's in the common folder. VPN'd in, you can go look. You're welcome, Priscilla. And just for future notice, as you've probably seen on the schedule, we're going to be talking about preventing infections. And there's another one that popped up, and I always blank on it. Oh, and helping to reduce psychiatric visits to emergency rooms, which were other causes for people going to get services outside. So those will be coming. Jesse, Gio has her hand up. Not sure if you see her. I don't. I'm sorry, Gio.
Hi, that's
Hi.
okay. Thanks, Jesse. So back to the reporting, and I'm sorry. so for DDS, because we do it in HCSIS, so for ones that don't require hospitalizations, we're still, for the internal tracking, doing it on HCSIS? Am I understanding this right?
If it doesn't require it on HCSIS, I would just do it in an email.
Just send the email
Just send the email.
to that. Okay, okay.
Yeah, let's not put stuff in
Okay, yeah, I
HCSIS
was
that
a
they're
little
gonna protest and remove.
Yeah, I was a little confused on that, so I just wanted to, okay, thank you.
But Rob's looking, because there are some ways to record falls in HCSIS that might be relevant. So thank you for the question.
And the same goes, sorry, the same goes for AFC. I think what we're looking for is a process that doesn't rise to the level of reporting across the board. So it's all the same for everybody. But the same goes for AFC. If it does require, if it turns into a critical incident report, a fall, then we do need to file it.
And I don't think, if it doesn't rise to the level of a critical incident or an incident, no one's going to be mad if you send an email instead of the form. But just remember to put in the follow-up steps and those types of things so that we can track them. That'd be really appreciated.
So does everybody know where to send the email? Is it, are they sending it to incident reports at?
Hold on, I'll pull it up. Question. See over here, we have incident reports AFC at nonotuck.com, or just an email to the quality team. We also have incident reports DDS. Doesn't get used very often because everything's in HCSIS, but you can send it to there too, and we check them all.
Maybe we can add this to the training, the email addresses for now.
Sure. Yes. So my email. Stop sharing. People can read my emails and respond. All right, any other questions? That was a cough, not a question. All right. Thank you, folks. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Serby.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Good to see you as always.
Thanks, Doug.
Into your time.
Stay safe today.
Yeah, everybody. No falling in the snow.
That's right. Good timing for the training, right?
Right.
Take care.